Hey everybody, what's going on? It's me, John D. Villarreal, joined by Paul F. Villarreal by phone. New situation, new studio. We're playing around with some different things here. We've got some different gear, different equipment that we're doing here right now. Hey, listen, it is the eve. It is right now the eve of caucus night in Iowa. It is the Iowa caucuses, the primary. It's not the primary. The first GOP. It's the Iowa caucuses are coming up here, and it's going to be amazing. This is it. All the pontificating, all of the talking, all of that type of stuff, it's almost over. Well, there'll be more talking, of course, including by myself and Paul and others. But now we're in a situation where it's about time for the voters, the voters, to speak. And that's why it's so exciting about this. And I can't wait. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Nikki Haley's surging, the Haley surge. We're not seeing it. I mean, we are, but we're not. Like let me put it this way. Yes, she's doing better than the other candidates out there, the other contenders to Trump. But no, she's not going to win. She's not going to get anywhere close to that. And there's been a lot of gaffes along the way. But there's been a really interesting week. Also, this Cat Williams thing continues to go. A lot to say about that. Let's bring in Paul F. Villarreal right now. I mean, Paul, we are right now up against it. The latest Iowa polls, we've got Des Moines Register out there. We've got some other polls out there that have been talking about what's going to happen tomorrow. What do you expect to see? Well, actually now on the East Coast, technically later today, what do you think we're going to see over there in Iowa? I expect a Trump blowout. And there's just a lot to talk about here with Governor DeSantis, and we had the debate, and then we had the Trump town hall. Where are we at right now?
Okay, so here, I spent a tremendous amount of time online, just kind of like, trying to read the ground and ear to the ground type of thing. I personally feel Vivek is getting a little bit of traction. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to finish above, 5 or 6%. Maybe he finishes in fourth. But I don't know. It just feels like he's got a little bit of energy going. And
why would you say that is? Why do you think Vivek has got that kind of energy?
I'm seeing a lot of activity towards him online, and he's been filling up. He's been filling up some spaces where he's been in Iowa. So I'll just say that. Look, I don't think there's a big play by Team Vivek to kind of have a strong finish. I don't think that's going to materialize to the extent that they want. But I will tell you this. He's been working with a lot of top influencers this week. Elon and his friends on Twitter, X, have been pushing Vivek this week. I think that they've donated to him before. So they're trying to make it happen. Again, I don't think we're not going to see like Vivek finishing second or anything like that, but he just might overperform expectations. I just want to say that. Something else I want to say is that I came across something on Twitter. Basically, this is a source that is a reliable source that is in Iowa helping Team Trump, who actually said that Team Trump is kind of playing down expectations, and they actually believe that they're up by 12 points. That is only 12 points. But this person said that's a very conservative estimate. They think they're going to win. This person thinks Trump is going to win by a lot more than that. So I think this is kind of an expectations game type of a thing, and how that goes. Look, Trump's going to win. I don't think there's any question about that. Now, of course, if he doesn't win big, then how the media is going to spin it. But again, look, the polls are, all overwhelmingly in his favor. So I think things are good for him. He had a good day today. He had a good kind of speech / rally that I covered. His team's on the ground, his surrogates are on the ground, and, they're ready to go.
They're ready to go. There's no doubt about it. And I really feel like, we have a different situation here in terms of this is a primary is different than a caucus. A caucus, you get everybody together in the room. People can see you vote. It's a very different kind of event. Do you feel like that format, the caucus format, the way that Iowa does it, first in the nation, is an advantage to any candidate or disadvantage? Or how do you see that playing out? And what do you think about, Senator Rand Paul, started this Never Nikki movement and had some very sharp comments The point being is when you look at what you said with Vivek, when you look at Governor DeSantis, when you look at Governor Haley, what Senator Paul's doing, and of course Trump and Trump doing the town hall there. Do you think this format plays strongly, or is it an advantage or disadvantage for any of the candidates given the state of play right now?
I think it could help Team Trump because going back to Vivek, the what they tried to do was, and this just happened in the last 2 days, and it's caused a huge dust up between two teams. They tried to do a thing where it's like suddenly vote Vivek to save Trump.
That was weird. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that.
Yeah, really weird. But I will tell you, there was video of Vivek talking to voters in Iowa who were like, "Oh my gosh, maybe I should do this." And so in the caucus format, you get a chance to talk to people. And so I think that when the Trump caucusers get to talk to some of these people and say, no, that doesn't make any sense, then maybe that will kind of bring these people back to the fold. So I think it could actually help Team Trump.
Gotcha. Like, I mean, what do you make of, you're right there, you're in the mix of it. What do you make right now of the Vivek strategy? It's a lot of influencers over there. I think Benny Johnson was posting some stuff and then took it down. We're not trying to punk at anyone or call anyone out. We're just trying to describe what's going on out there. It looks like there's some effort, but I'm not alleging anything, but let me put it another way. It seems like there's some influencers on the ground there with Vivek. What's happening? What was this Benny Johnson thing?
Yeah, so Benny Johnson was one of a number of different influencers who kind of apparently decided to go to Iowa and hang out with Vivek. And of course they would get, they were going to get content for their channels and their pages and all this type of stuff. And
sure.
That's probably what this was, right? So I will tell you this, and I said this on Twitter tonight, look, these influencers that went out there, they might not have known what Vivek was going to do. They might not have known that he was going to spring this Save Trump thing. So they're just going there to kind of help him out, and suddenly, boom, it's like Kanye and Michael Myers. You didn't know what was going to say. You know what I mean? So that, I think that could have happened. As far as what happened with Benny Johnson put up a tweet or post that basically said, hey, today and tomorrow I'm going to be hanging out with Vivek. And, I don't know, basically it seemed like an endorsement, essentially. And a bunch of people just came back at him and saying, look, what are you talking about? You've basically grown your business by, supporting Trump and MAGA. And now you're like, are you endorsing Vivek? And I will say Benny Johnson was kind of pushing DeSantis before too.
Yeah.
So there was a blowback on this. Yeah.
That was my perception. That's my opinion, my perception. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, he was in a photo, a kind of notorious photo of a bunch of influencers hanging out with in a picture with DeSantis and many of those influencers.
Yeah, wasn't there if I remember right, it's like it was Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Vivek. Excuse me. Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Buck Sexton from the Buck and Clay show. Lisa Booth. There were some others.
Lisa Booth. Right. There's a couple different pictures, but yes, all those people were involved apparently. And one of those pictures had Benny Johnson in it. So yeah, that was brought up tonight too. So Benny Johnson basically took the tweet down and then kind of, put up a tweet saying, hey, look, I took down this poorly worded thing and I'm really working on a documentary, kind of just walking it all back. And look, again, I do think that there is a potential element here of, if you're Vivek, bring the guys in and do whatever you want to do. Vivek's a very smart man. He can read the chessboard, play the chessboard. I have no idea what he told these people, what he didn't tell them. But, if I wanted to make a move, kind of a sudden move, and I wanted it to be covered, I'm not going to tell anybody that. I'm just going to bring him in. It's like Trump calling a press conference. You don't know what he's going to say, but he's going to get covered. So again, I don't know what happened, but to give the benefit of the doubt here, these influencers may not have known what Vivek was going to do, or that he was going to spring this plan yesterday. And look, it caused a huge blow up. I mean, the Trump team is still upset about this. And, I understand it, because until this point in time, it kind of seemed like allies kind of helping each other out. And now it's like, well, what are you trying to get over on me? So yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of people that felt like, where Trump, I mean, again, I think what you're saying is there was a certain perception in the marketplace, if you will, a certain brand. And now it seems like these people have gone really against that brand. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's almost kind of like, I mean, in a business sense or something, it's kind of like you have a business partnership or something, and suddenly there's a hostile takeover attempt with somebody you thought was your partner. I mean, just to make kind of an analogy here, it's like, and you're trying to go over supposedly on the big company, and you're the little company. So it's kind of like, wait, you're going to save the guy who's polling at 69% and you're at 4%? I mean, just like, what are you talking about? That's how people felt about this.
Very weird, no doubt about it. And I just don't know what people were thinking at this point.
Yeah. I think it was a huge mistake by Vivek. I said as much on Twitter. A bunch of other people said the same. The influencers who were hanging out with Vivek then were forced to defend him. Why? And then it was we got the gaslighting of, why did Trump attack Vivek, which of course is absurd. Trump didn't do anything. He got blindsided by all this. So look, I think in the end it's a tempest in a teapot.
Well, I think part of it too is that Vivek has to understand the lane that he's in, and the lane that he's in is basically a Trump alternative, or possibly like a Trump VP or something of the, something of that nature. Someone that's been very smart, has done a great job of really taking it to the media and the press, and being able to be very quick on his feet, turning around the gotcha questions, but also really defending the MAGA agenda, really defending Trump, really stepping up there when other people weren't, whether it was the situation with the 14th Amendment in Colorado, saying that he'd take himself off the ballot. There's just so many other instances of that. Now, here's the thing where it's like, okay, well, like you said, you're acting like you're going to actually win. And I understand when you run, you want to win, and you're not playing for second, quote unquote. But the reality is the reality. When we look at these polls, I mean, Vivek's the least likely to win right now in the Iowa caucus, just based upon the polls. I mean, we don't know until people actually vote. But the point of it is the positioning and the strategy should be, okay, just for whatever reason, if people don't vote for Trump, then those voters are going to want to go towards me, or much more likely, if Trump wins, then I've got a spot there. But when you're sort of taking on Trump and really getting, it's like what's happened with Governor Haley. People are like, oh, put her on the ticket. What? Now I understand. Like, this happens. We famously saw Vice President Harris and Joe Biden in the debates, and then now she's on the. She's vice president, right? They're running together, but I think that with Trump it's a little bit different. There seems like there's a lot of bad blood now between Ambassador Haley and Trump, and you don't want to put yourself in that spot with Trump if you're Vivek. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, look, you and I watched a lot of professional wrestling in the past, and we know that one of the Rock's catchphrases was "Know your role, jabroni." And it's kind of like, Vivek kind of stepped out of line here. I think that's what a lot of people feel. And you are setting yourself up. I don't think Vivek was ever going to be Trump's VP, but certainly he was being talked about as a cabinet position and different things. And it's like, why would you do this? As you said, you're not going to win. I mean, of course you want to win, but you're not going to win. So the best thing that you can get out of this is maybe a cabinet position, having MAGA on your side. I mean, I can't tell you for months I've been trying to convince people Vivek is a good guy. You can trust him. He's cool. And in one day, gone.
Well, it's the old saying.
Why would you do that?
It takes a lifetime to build a reputation, and you can in only minutes or seconds to ruin it, if you will. So I think there's some of that. Now let's talk about what we expect tomorrow. What we think we're going to see tomorrow, because I think that right now you've got some different polling out there. You've got CBS polling. I think this is national. You've got Trump at 60 with GOP voters, I believe. You've got Trump at 69%, Governor Haley at 12%, Governor DeSantis at 14%, and Vivek at 4%. What do you think that we're likely to see tomorrow in Iowa? If we look at the Iowa polling and the Iowa caucuses, let's see what we have right here. We've got Trump at 50. This is a Real Clear Politics average. Trump 52.5, Haley at 18.7, DeSantis at 15.5, Ramaswamy at 6.5. Now, Governor DeSantis has faded quite a bit, and we had that whole situation with the debate, if you will, between Governor DeSantis and Governor Haley. Who do you think got the better of that? And I know there weren't a lot of people watching. I think it was like 2.5 million. Trump had 4 million over at Fox. They had this debate, I believe, on what was it, on CNN? I mean, where are we at with Governor DeSantis' campaign, and how do you think that debate went with him and Governor Haley?
You know, I did not get to see that debate because, of course, I was watching Trump on Fox at that time. But I look, from reading reports of it, it sounded like it didn't go great for either one of them. I mean, it just sounded like it was kind of, not necessarily productive, or it wasn't a clear winner of the debate. That's what I heard. As far as where DeSantis' campaign is, there's been a lot of speculation that there's a real chance that he might get out of the race after Iowa. As you said, I think obviously, I don't think anybody thinks he's going to win. Now it's a thing of, is he going to finish behind Nikki Haley? I mean, which would be, really devastating for him, since his entire strategy was based on Iowa. So if you fall behind Haley there, I mean, what do you do?
Well, that's the thing, like you said, real quick. If you've got Governor DeSantis that loses to Governor Haley in Iowa, number one, and then you've got Haley's surging, okay, they're all about New Hampshire. But then we have South Carolina. If Governor Haley loses in South Carolina to Trump, I don't see how there's a path forward for either Governor DeSantis or Governor Haley. It just doesn't make any sense. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, and to that point, at his speech today, Trump made sure to mention how far ahead he is of DeSantis and Haley in their home states, Florida and South Carolina. South Carolina is the electorate of South Carolina is now, according to the pollster I follow, is now very much like Iowa, which is much more conservative and stuff, which means it's going to go to Trump. I mean, so if Haley, I think the best that Haley can hope for is possibly eking out New Hampshire, maybe, and then fake winning the Nevada primary, which Trump isn't contesting. He's doing the caucus. There's two different things there. And then that's it. That's going to be the end of the road, because I think she's going to get crushed in South Carolina. And look, right now, today, I don't think she's going to win New Hampshire. Now, if Trump supposedly underperforms in Iowa and the media, pushes that, maybe she could get a win in New Hampshire, but it's just not going to carry over, in my opinion. And, I just don't see it. I mean, I don't see it. And as far as where Trump is at with these polls in Iowa, these are like historic margins. Like, I want to say the NBC Des Moines Register poll was like, look, Trump said, I don't know what they had, like 48 or something. It's like, there's never been a person at this number. Like W. Bush had the record before. Trump's above that. The margin right now is above that. So even if he, quote unquote, only won by like 15 points, that might be a record. So this is kind of what we're talking about here. Did you hit the home run 500 feet or was it 480 feet? That's kind of what we're discussing.
That's what's so wild is that you've got a situation where, Trump is going to win by such an unprecedented margin based on the polls. We don't know. I mean, we'll see. The people viable will tell, the voters viable will tell us tomorrow or later today, actually, technically here on the East Coast. And it's like, look, in any other, in previous primaries, this would have been seen as an absolute blowout situation. And I love the way they're trying to make it like, oh, someone's surging and it's close. And it's just so crazy. Now, got the show later on News Talk 1040 a.m. from Monday 4 to 6. So I'm going to get ready for that. There's a lot to talk about, but we've got situations developing with the whole situation in Atlanta with the DA. There's news there. There's more there's more Cat Williams news and fallout from that big interview. But what do you expect that we're going to see? The bottom line for me is that I'm seeing more and more. I expect Trump's going to win big tomorrow, and or later today. And you're also seeing more and more reports of like how Washington's getting ready for another Trump administration and positioning, and we're going to try to, So it's almost like reality's starting to exert itself, if you will, here in 2024. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, I think that's true. Now, look, I mean, given all the legal stuff and the money on hand and the incumbency and stuff, I mean, it's still going to be a struggle. But yeah, if you wanted me to pick somebody today, I'm picking Trump to win because things are not that great right now under Biden, in my opinion. I do think reality is starting to take hold. And as we both know, once the votes start coming in tomorrow, everything's going to change. The entire perception and everything is going to change. And that's when it starts to get very real.
I'll say this too, and I want to say it on the show later. It's like, here's what's really frustrating, as a, someone on the conservative side, a voter, a GOP voter on, here in Florida and stuff like that. You've got Governor DeSantis, who I said is one of the best governors, if not the best governor in Florida of all time, at least in my recent memory, modern times, whatever. I don't have all the history here, but certainly it has an outstanding record. Instead, I'm not saying I agree with everything, not saying everything's been the best. I'm not endorsing or condoning everything, but I said in total was seen as a very successful governor and was seen as a really leading force, a leading candidate on the Republican conservative side, certainly after the midterm elections with that big, huge reelection win that he had here. And now you see the statue, you see this campaign, and I really feel like the campaign's really been bad for governor in total with Governor DeSantis and the super PAC and the Jeb Bush, interview, whatever that, I don't know. And all these things versus Governor Haley, who they're touting as, surging it's just like, she had some t-shirt on, underestimate me, it'll be fun. And Vivek's criticized her for some of her campaign positioning, if you will, branding, if you will. And just the point I'm trying to make is you look at Governor DeSantis's record and accomplishments in a critical time versus Governor Haley, who I think the last week or two have, whether it was a Civil War question, whether it was the flip-flopping that was exposed, I never said that, oh no, here you did say that. I mean, and it has just really been just, and then obviously Vivek in the debates, name 3 eastern provinces that we want to take back has just been, I don't want to say necessarily exposed, but I think the contrast between records and just effectiveness, if you will, and even being able to respond to answers in real time between Governor Haley and Governor DeSantis is very, very stark. And yet you've got the media saying that Governor Haley's surging and Governor DeSantis is not. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the unfortunate thing, like you said, look, Governor DeSantis has a proven record. I think he's a much more capable office holder than Governor Haley is. And I think we've seen that during his campaign. The unfortunate reality, I believe, is that Governor DeSantis was a vehicle for people who didn't want Trump to win. And so once it became evident that DeSantis wasn't going to get it done, then those people just simply switched over to Haley.
Now,
So
I'm going to stop you right there because you just said something very, very important. Very important in my opinion. I agree with you. That's the perception from, I'm not alleging anything. You're not alleging anything. That's the perception. And that's why when Vivek did what he did, or what, again, I'm not alleging anything, but that's why when you have this influencers and the tweets and stuff like that, it's so damaging for that campaign. Vivek is supposed to be the truth teller, the something different, and hey, I'm on Team MAGA, next generation of Team MAGA. He keeps talking about fresh legs and all this type of stuff. Great, you've got to position yourself. You're not trying to, yes, I know you're in it to win it, and I get it and stuff like that. But but again, there's Trump and then there's the non-Trump. That's what it is at this point, right? And if you will, Vivek, the best way you can position yourself is being on the extended Team Trump, if you will. I'm just talking about the minds of voters. I'm not talking about any kind of coordination. I'm not talking about any of that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about in the minds of voters out there, right? You can be the backup plan, but you can't be seen as in the never Trump section or the anti-Trump section does that make sense? Am I making sense, Paul?
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. I think that's why there was such a feeling of betrayal among MAGA people with Vivek. Like, why are you doing this 2 days before the caucus when you're not only not going to win, you're probably going to be fourth?
Right.
Are you trying to hurt Trump? What are you thinking? Yeah, that there's no question. There were many people who were like, yeah, he's just playing a role for the establishment who, his whole persona was anti-establishment. So, yeah, I think you're making perfect sense.
And again, it harkens back to the Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz thing, the super Tea Party person and this and that. And then, all the associations with the Bush family and everything. And we saw what happened there last time and all that. And again, I don't know. He's definitely come back, but I don't know that he's ever fully recovered. And it was the same thing. The influencers and the Dana Loesch's and the Mark Levins and all that. And we listen, we're fans of some of these people, if you will. I'm not trying to, we're not calling anybody out. We're just recalling what it was, So yeah. And anyway, okay, very good. Listen, let's wrap it up here. We'll leave it here. There's a lot more to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk about everything on the John D. Villarreal radio show on News Talk 1040, and there's been so much more that we're going to get into, and we're looking forward to it. So we'll see you there, 4 to 6 on Eastern time, and we'll be live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook as well. Looking forward to it. For Paul, I'm John. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.